Giants kick off free agency hot, quarterback updates, and more coming up on All Blue Giants.
Touchdown!
Welcome back to the All Blue New York Giants podcast. I'm your host, Aiden Nolan, and to kick right off into things, hope you guys had an amazing free agency period as the Giants were real hot, but instead of kicking it off with talking about the free agency period, which I think was very valuable by Joe Schoen, if I had to pick a word for it. Well, let's kick it off and talk about our quarterback situation. Currently, right now, we have one quarterback under contract for the 2025 NFL season, and that is Tommy DeVito. Now, obviously, that's not where we want to be, and I'm sure all of you have been keeping track on Twitter, on Instagram, and all the different updates with the Giants, trying to keep up with Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. And it's been a whole big spiel. I'm sure you guys have been tapped into Twitter. It's been absolutely insane. I remember, keeping up with, here goes a quarterback. Justin Fields, potential quarterback, signs with the Jets, which I didn't think Fields was that likely. I thought it would ultimately come down to Rodgers and Wilson, and here we are, Rodgers and Wilson. Sam Darnold was a dark horse. I didn't think we were going to try and pursue him. And obviously he's on the Seahawks now. So a lot of things that happened throughout free agency, but let's dive right into quarterback. Russell Wilson met with the Giants yesterday, March 14th. I don't know what day you guys are watching the podcast here, but he met with the Giants on March 14th on that Friday after completing an interview with the Cleveland Browns, as that's his other potential option, as well as the Pittsburgh Steelers, who have retained Mason Rudolph back, or they re-signed him as a previous quarterback there, but they're still looking for their starter. And ultimately, you can't talk about Russ without talking about Aaron Rodgers, as we saw, the 36-year-old Russell Wilson coming into the building, and, taking a look at his stats here, threw for 2482 last year, ranked 22nd among quarterbacks last season, threw 16 touchdowns, which ranked 22nd. Obviously, he didn't play all 17 games. Him and Fields split some time as he started off the season injured. His pass rating was 95.6, had 5 interceptions. That's kind of just a quick rundown of him. We all know what he is. He's definitely far removed from his times in Seattle when he was playing out of his mind. But he takes a lot of sacks. That's the issue with Russell Wilson. He's the type of quarterback that will go into sacks, and that's what we saw with Pittsburgh. That's what we saw in Denver. Obviously, I do think the Giants have a better O-line than Pittsburgh does. I'm willing to argue that. I know I posted Colin Cowherd had a take that the Giants would be a better place for Rodgers to go to instead of Russ, but I still think that pertains to Russ as well, because I do think we have a better O-line than Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh's is young and up and coming. That's why I think that, it really just comes down to who Dave's like. I mean, we know Dave's and Schoen right now, they're kind of swinging for the fences here. Mara made it very clear that he was kind of sick and tired with how things have been run, and he obviously made the option to not get rid of Dable and Schoen. And now Dable and Schoen they're back against the wall. Now they have to go out and win, and it's going to be so hard as the Commanders are looking scary. They traded for Laramie Tunsil a couple days ago. Hit them in the Eagles will definitely be running the division. I don't know. I think that's 4 losses right on the table. Obviously, we don't know who our quarterback is. Everyone is a quarterback away. I saw Peter Schrager said that the Giants are a quarterback away, and realistically, any NFL team, I know Bobby Skinner on Talking Giants argued this too. Every team's a quarterback away. Every team's a quarterback away. Now, if you say this team is a Russell Wilson quarterback away, this team is a Aaron Rodgers quarterback away, okay, that's more specific. Obviously, I don't think so. If we had a Pat Mahomes, maybe. I'm not even sure, But what it comes down to is this year, how are we going to pan out if we just win 7 or 8 games, middle of the pack picking, and, we don't have, obviously draft talk is going to be for a different episode, is that can really mess with your brain there. So back into Russ here, he's His age, he's definitely much younger than Aaron Rodgers. Like I mentioned before, I have another note here. He holds the ball for too long, takes a lot of sacks, but he has a very nice deep ball. Solid deep ball, great for EPA per play. Go check out Justin Pennick if explosive play attempts. That is something that will win you football games. And both of these guys, Rodgers and Wilson, have solid deep balls. But it just comes to the intermediate to mid part of the field, or that's the same word, intermediate to short part of the field, which I think they're okay at. Obviously these guys are older. I do think that this will be the best quarterback play we will get since Eli. I'm not too sure about that. DJ played all right, in 2022. 2019 was probably his. I would say until 2019. 2019, DJ was playing out of his mind. When he threw 25 touchdowns, which was, great rookie year. Sad to see him sign with the Colts. Good luck. This is our Colts. This is our team. Good luck. But yeah, so regarding the quarterback situation, I've seen so many different reports with Russ. And this is what I'm going to say here about Russ. The fact that as a Giants organization, he was reported to be at the Giants facility for over 8 hours. And people were sure, and I was sure, reading the reports, I'm like, oh, he's 100% signing with the Giants. There's no way. And, Russ went to Cleveland. He left, went on a plane. That was earlier in the week. He had a meeting with Cleveland, came down here, and, you're waiting for Rodgers, which is exactly why I'm saying you can't talk about Russ for the Giants, and you can't leave out Rodgers. Rodgers and Russ, hand in hand here. And my take is this: I know as a fan base, as an organization such as the Giants, and you need to win, Rodgers is probably that A1 quarterback right now. I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the league. He's probably the best quarterback out there right now. And I think he is better than Russ, but you got to take a look at the baggage that comes with him. This is what I've been arguing. Rodgers has a lot of baggage that comes with him in that sense of, Rodgers, if you bench Rodgers for, let's say we still draft a rookie quarterback, I think if we pick up Russ or Rodgers, we don't have to pick a rookie quarterback. I think we're just going to let the cards play out. We don't have to trade up. I think if we pivot, maybe even Russ, I would say more so Rodgers, though. If we were to, I think we'd still draft a quarterback regardless. It would just change on how important we want that situation to be. So, the whole thing with Russ is, how do you bring him in the building and you basically have a great conversation with him, and yet you tell him, wait, we're going to wait for Rodgers, so keep calm. If I'm Russ, I'm pissed, and I put this on Instagram. If I am Russ, I am livid, and I'm saying, really? Obviously I know Russ is a pretty nice guy, he's a pretty likable guy, but Rodgers can stir up a lot if he gets benched. He has a lot of baggage to him. That's what I was arguing at the first point. He has a lot of baggage that comes with him. And in that baggage, you saw how he imploded the Jets organization. Obviously, it could have been just the Jets. Obviously, their whole GM-owner relationship there and how they run the team is not, par level. But regardless, I think a lot of Giants fans would love to see Rodgers just because it would be the best quarterback play, And I still think Russ would be solid quarterback play. Like I said, will we win 11 games, 10, 11 games? I don't know. Obviously, the offseason isn't done. We still have the draft. We still have, some parts to try and, figure some stuff out. But just for me, the fact that they brought him in and no deal gets done is wild. Waiting for Rodgers. And let's just, piggyback right into Rodgers here, because we're kind of living in both worlds here. Rodgers apparently is, reports came out that he was interested in the Vikings. Vikings were a dark horse suitor for him, and they're very quarterback friendly there. We know that for a fact, but I can't see them doing that. You trade up for J.J. McCarthy, and you're going to push him back another year. Obviously, I know the injury he's coming off of, but you still do need a veteran quarterback, I feel like. But signing Aaron Rodgers, who's going to ask for a pretty penny, I don't know if that's the best situation. Maybe it is. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about, So I think it all comes down to, as a Giants team, too smart, tough, dependable. I don't know if Rodgers is dependable. We saw how he was the last 2 years. Now, do I think he's still a great caliber quarterback? I do. He's definitely going to be a Hall of Famer, but I'm not too sure right now if the Giants, if we have that room to sell out. Now, if I'm Joe Schoen, yes, my job is on the line. I'm going to get the best guy out there, and I'm not going to leave it up to chance, which is why that's what I think he's trying to get at. And that's what the Steelers and Giants are both doing, and that's what they both said to Russ is, we'll let you know on Rodgers. Now, what happens if this happens, right? What happens if Rodgers goes to Minnesota? Now we have a whole different pickle, and now Wilson might go back to the Steelers. Russ might sign back with the Steelers, and guess who the Giants are left with? Joe Flacco, who we brought him in for a visit a couple days ago as well. And that would be something. Joe Flacco, bring it in. He's old as well, but I think if we get to that point where we sign Joe Flacco, we're 100% trading up to try and get Cam Ward. Which reports that Shedeur isn't as high on the Giants' radar as we may have thought. I think they dove into his film. I dove into his film. I think Cam Ward is a better prospect there. But that's draft talk. We're not talking about draft talk. So, that's my kind of 2 cents. I would have just signed Russ, had the safer option. Obviously we want to wait for Rodgers. It's March 15th. It's Saturday. People thought that we would get an answer by Wednesday of last week. I think he's going to take his time evaluating his options. And if I'm Rodgers, I 100% want to go to Minnesota. Not because of the Brett Favre conspiracy, all this, but because I do think that it gives me the best chance to succeed, even more so than Pittsburgh. I know they got DK over there now, but I think just the Vikings' whole system, that's why Sam Darnold exceeded. He got his bag. He's out in there in Seattle, but if I'm Rodgers, I think that's the best situation. Now the Giants apparently had, we knew this. Pittsburgh was going to wow him with his situation. They got DK, you got these 2 great guys on your outside. You got Muth up the middle. We have an up and coming O-line, this, that, and the third. I think that's what they're wowing them with. The Giants are wowing him with moolah. You got to pay him if you want him to, keep going. He has maybe 2 years left in him. He's 41 years old. And kind of just piggybacking off of that, I don't know what Rodgers is going to do, and I think this leaves the Giants in a very bad predicament. So all we could hope is that we sign one of the two. I think one of the two, both of those guys give us the best chance. Rodgers definitely gets you an edge, but looking at Russ, it's still better quarterback play than we've had since 2019. So I'll take it, regardless, and see what the Giants do during the draft. I think the draft is going to just dictate what the Giants' plan is. And obviously their plan is to win now, win some football games, be competitive, not get blown out. But if the Giants trade up, that shows you their confidence in whoever the quarterback is. But also I could see them, you trade up, you get Cam Ward, you let him sit, whoever the starter is goes crazy, guess what? You just set yourself up. I'm a big guy, and I'm a big promoter in letting your quarterback sit and develop behind somebody, and giving him some time to develop. And that's why I think McCarthy, I knocked him coming in, but I don't know, he sat, he obviously was injured, he sat for a year, kind of figuring it out. I know it shaves a couple of years off, but Rodgers is still going, he sat for a couple. So that's kind of my whole spiel with that. It's very up in the air. It's very hard to get a tell on what's going to happen. What ideally I want to happen is, best chance of winning is we get Rodgers. He might command more than $20 million a year, which is probably, very likely. But I think the Giants definitely had to pay more than that, maybe even more than 25 for him, maybe 30, who knows? So I'm just very interested, especially since the Vikings are now, and Rodgers has no hurry up to try and get something done. So that's all we could say there. And next up, I want to talk about Giants free agency. We'll go through it. We'll talk about what I personally thought about their grades, what I think their plan is, and how their plan is doing. And I'll talk about all that after this. What's up, Giants fans? Are you looking for more All Blue Giants content? Are you looking for unfiltered takes, rumors, breaking news, and updates? Well, look no further. Follow at All Blue Giants on Instagram and don't miss out on any of your Giants action. All Giants, all blue, every single day. So don't miss out and follow at All Blue Giants. And we're back here talking about Giants free agency. I'm going to tell you what I thought of their free agency period thus far and kind of give a decent grade at the end of all of this. But the Giants, man, free agency solid. Definitely solid. I'm getting a call right now. Giants free agency has definitely been solid. And what can I say? I think the defense is looking pretty solid. You know, I am very happy with some of the additions. And, you know, and I think that, let's just dive into it. Secondary. Secondary was one of the worst in the leagues last year. We were young. Deonte Banks was not playing well as a corner one. He was getting burnt, barbecue chickened. And no knock against Deonte Banks. I love you. Obviously, corners take, sometimes corners take a bit of time to develop. Obviously, the Giants have identified that. The Giants know that. And, that's why we moved off of Jerome Henderson, our DB coach. I'm not entirely sure if that's his fault. He's been a solid DB coach and very well for the last couple of years for the Giants. He's survived a couple coaching changes and stuff. So, I don't know if that's entirely his fault. He made Nick McLeod look serviceable and, during our playoff run. But, you come and you identify my second. No, as Giants fans, we said this. Secondary, O-line, and, obviously, D-line. Those were the three position groups where we were like, all right, we need help here. Besides Dexter Lawrence, we had nobody, really. And obviously quarterback, but quarterback goes without saying. I think our offense has been pretty solid, especially with Tyler and Tracy breaking out. Obviously, we might need to address running back 2 and whatnot. But regardless, the top 3 was D-line, secondary, and O-line, which I think our O-line is solid for, we just needed a swing tackle, which I'll talk about it now. We need a guard, which is still up in the air here. But Jevon Holland is the headline. Everyone knows about Jevon Holland, the safety from Miami. We paid him a 3-year, $15 million a year annually. He's 25 years old, great leadership. He's aggressive ball player. He could go into the box. He could get you a tackle. Great tackler, He kind of reminds me a little bit of that Jabril energy that Jabril used to, bring. Going into that box, tackling that running back, getting a big hit, and he would just elevate. And I do think that there was a couple people commenting on just where his head was at. He wasn't diving into film really and really picking up on quarterback tendencies, which I hope once he comes to the Giants, we could really get him in that film room and really, analyzing those tendencies to really be a better too high safety, as apparently he struggled a little bit last year in that too high scheme. And obviously we know what Shane Bowen runs, is that typical 4-down lineman, too high safety. Obviously, I hope that they could really utilize Jevon Holland in the box because he can be utilized there, drop him down, stack that box. And somebody else that piggybacks off of that is Paulson Adebo. Paulson Adebo came off from breaking his leg last year. Regardless, signed him to a 3-year, $54 million deal, who is going to be our cornerback 1, and he is just such an aggressive guy. He is so great in press man. Great to break up those plays. Great ball skills. I think he's a great ball hawk. He could pick off the ball. He's running with you in man, and he's solid in zone. But once again, another guy who, if we were going off of what scheme fits, both of these guys aren't, elite level perfect plugins for the Shane Bowen defense, in my opinion. I think that these guys are both pretty aggressive. But, putting them in zone, they may struggle a bit. Obviously, the thing with Paulson Adebo is he gives up a lot of yards, but hey, he could pick off that football. He could have some crazy breakups, but he does give up some yards. So I do think that both of those were just so amazing for our secondary. Our secondary now, we got rid of, Jason Pinnock signed with the Niners. I love Pinnock, but him and Jevon Holland and Tyler Nubin are going to be a really crazy duo. And I think our DB age is like 24 years old, I believe. Very young. And, sometimes very young doesn't really correlate to really good, but it also gives you a sense of, wow, the Giants are kind of, these guys are for now, yes. But also, we got years on them. We're not signing a bunch of veterans hoping to win right this second, so I will give credit where credit is due to Joe Schoen in that sense that we're not going out and spending like a madman. We are spending a bit. Obviously, we'll see where quarterback takes us, but I do think that we're really leading down that right path and evaluating what can help us now and what could also help us, even better in the future. So those were our two secondary enhancements. Obviously, what did I mention before? I mentioned D-line. Well, guess what? We also addressed that Chauncey Golston from the Dallas Cowboys. I remember him. DJ's been sacked how many times from him? I think twice in one of those Dallas games. He's so versatile. He's played edge. He's played interior D-line. I think he will add such a key element to helping Dexter Lawrence. Now, obviously, we knew from last year, Dexter Lawrence comes off the field, the Giants will give up a 10, 15-yard run that play. Obviously, Dex can't play all 100% of snaps. So bringing in that D-line, which I thought was so crucial, even more than secondary, which secondary was, we needed a corner one. We were getting toasted, but D-tackle, man. We needed some guys up there, and I think, obviously he's not a D tackle, he's a D lineman. I think it helps, obviously. Put him down he's versatile. And, he's very effective run defense-wise. Can really stuff the run there. Looking at wrong defensive guy. He struggles with run defense. Great pass rusher. But he's a little lighter, not a huge D lineman to kind of get in there. I believe, let me look this up really quickly and get you a tell on him. He is, okay, let's just, where we're going. He's 6'5", 268, not huge. Not huge for a D lineman, obviously, so that's why his struggles are in the run game there, but I do think that is an amazing pickup there. Him, and in addition, Roy Robertson-Harris. He adds depth. I don't know if he's going to get a ton of work there. I will say that, I think he might be D-tackle maybe 4 or 5 there, but it's just depth. He's a great run stuffer, which we were so weak with. So, him and Elijah Chapman dueling it out. Obviously, we need to continue. Hey, Brady Kachuk assists. And the Rangers scored again. Let's go Rangers, baby. That's live. We're up 2-0 against the Jackets. Wow. But once again, we're addressing defensive line. This is what has been amazing. This is what I've been preaching about and loving so far. We didn't even get to the last two components here. We also did retain quite a bit of Giants here, but, the Giants obviously knew and they wanted to address what they were struggling with and what were they struggling with. They knew what their holes were, so we go out and we address those holes in free agency. And I'd much rather do that than address it in the draft with guys. If it's not a first or second, maybe even a third round pick, you can't expect to plug a hole with a fourth or fifth round pick. No, you can't. So going out here and making solid signings, as we're going to get right in. What was the last thing I said we struggled with? Offensive line. Well, let me tell you right now, we addressed that. James Hudson III from the Browns, swing tackle-ish. We paid him a 2-year deal. I think it was maybe $6 million guaranteed. I don't remember the exact contract details. Wow, I didn't even post that. Wow. I didn't post James Hudson. Wow, I'm slacking. But I believe it was a little bit more than anticipated for him. He was, projected as a swing tackle. We eventually brought in Forsythe. Correct me if I'm wrong on that pronunciation. Another O-lineman who started tackle. He was versatile, but he was a solid tackle for the Seahawks. It was just, I think their scheme was a little atrocious. If you look at the PFF grade, which, I look at the PFF grade decent amount, but it doesn't tell you the story if you don't watch the film. And they left that guy on an island. man, they gave him no help against some of the top edge rushers in the league. Take a look at the film. And he would just get exploited. So I do think that he will be a function, that those guys can really add on to our, our struggling with tackle. I believe that the Giants are going to officially move Evan Neal to guard and let Illuminor sit out there. But once again, obviously, Andrew Thomas got hurt last year. We saw how great that was. So addressing swing tackle is so great. I'm not entirely sure what they're going to do with either one. Hudson isn't a guaranteed starter. I think he has really solid feet, and then it goes down the drain. So I do think that could maybe be a little project for Carmen Bracillo to try and maybe get Hudson to a point where he is in fact a great swing tackle. But if not, we still have Stone Forsythe on a 1-year deal, so we could see how that goes. And I know that the Giants also re-signed Greg Van Roten, keeping the continuity there. I thought he was all right. Greg Van Roten, he started last season. I believe he started all 17 games. And, he's 35 years old, but I think he's solid. He's not great. Obviously, we saw a lot of this exploitation, but I really hope that the Giants go out and they get a better guard. And guess what? A starter last year is now a backup. That's what we love to see. So I'm really liking the depth here for the Giants. We've really been addressing our weaknesses, and that's all you could really ask for. Address your weakness. We're retaining some of our, keeping some continuity. We re-signed Darius Slayton, which I thought was huge. I think he's a very big component to some success. He's the longest tenured Giant. I do think these moves are solid. I'm biased. I'm going to say that they're great, but I do think that they're very solid. We haven't really gone out there, and there's no move that I really thought like, what are we doing? Why would you do that? No, there hasn't been one move really. Some question marks with James Hudson. I'm not jumping head over heels with that, or Stone. None of these guys are elite or amazing or the best fit ever, and they're going to go out and do amazing things. Obviously, everyone's going to struggle, but I do think that we are on the right path. If we want to, be up from last year, you got to be up from 3-14. You know what I mean? So I think it's so easy to be on the come up, and I'm just excited to get. I want to fast forward. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm excited for this defense more than anything. Once we get our quarterback, I'll think about our offense. But I know, some words that you will never want to say as a Giants fans is it can't get any worse or it's going to get better. We saw what happened last year is it got so much worse. But I am so set on this is that I do think it will get better. I do think it will get better. Following this free agency, obviously the Giants are so desperate and it's so visible, obviously with the whole Cam Ward thing. If we're trading, this, that, and the third, trading up for Cam Ward. Obviously draft talk, we'll talk about that down the road, but regardless, I'm very happy with it right now. We're not going out and we're really, extending. Forgot a D tackle. Jeremiah Ledbetter. That guy will actually do some stuff for us. Once again, another D tackle. 1 year, 1.7. Solid run stuffer. Great backup. He'll probably be like a D tackle 4 or 5. And Roy Robertson-Harris will actually probably add an element. You'll probably see him out there on the field a lot more. I got them confused here. Not great note-taking on my part, but everything else is up to par there. So, like I said, I do think that they're on the right track. We have to see what we do at quarterback. Quarterback is going to be the biggest component here, and anyone could have told you that. Any Giants fan could have told you that. But if I'm the Giants, take Russ. Settle. I know we want to go for the home run shot. I would settle with Russ. He's a little younger. Obviously, he takes a lot more sacks. The O-line should be improved. But, I will say, seeing Aaron Rodgers sling the football to Malik Neighbors might be a sight to see. I'm not going to lie here. So that's it for All Blue Giants. Make sure to follow us on all socials. On TikTok at All Blue Giants. On Instagram at All Blue Giants, as you heard earlier. And, of course, on Twitter at All Blue Giants. And make sure to like and subscribe for more content just like this one. And we'll see. Free agency ain't done yet. We still got the draft upcoming. It's very, very great season to be excited as a Giants fan, hopefully. I mean, we don't have to watch them lose every week. But with that, let's go Giants, baby, and I'll see y'all in the next one.